Hey guys, welcome back. Superman 75, The Death of Superman, was a very big marketing success. It was hugely marketed. Any comic book shop that you went to back in the early 90s when the whole death of Superman thing came out with Doomsday, there were sort of signs out. There were various issues floating about, and of course, Superman 75 itself was a very big success. Friends of mine at the time, bought multiple copies, all of them almost. Some of them bought two copies. One of my mates bought about five, six copies of Superman 75 because of that whole investor bubble thing going on. And the investing was a big thing back then. Probably not so much now, but back then it was. But marketing. I think marketing was at the sort of like heart of getting this thing across because Superman has faced a number of foes and almost died a few times. But to actually die, or at least to come across as actually being dead, that was something else. However, having said that, look, when Superman died in issue 75, he didn't actually die, right? He went. I understand the accepted canon at this stage is that Superman went into a very, very deep death-like coma. It was so intense that people genuinely thought that he was dead because there were hardly any. Well, there was no sign of life, but he was in fact in some sort of a regenerative coma to allow his body to heal. And I think when he got exposed to to these powerful rays of the sun in his sort of crypto capsule regenerative sort of facility, he then of course came back to life, as it were. But if he had been absolutely completely dead, then there would have been no return. It's the fact that he was almost completely dead that allowed him to actually come back to life. And of course, that was not explained in Superman 75. When Superman 75 happened, as far as the public knew, he genuinely was dead. But here's the interesting thing. Superman 75 was not the first time that Superman died, or at least almost died, and went into a death like coma. In issue 595 of Action Comics, John Byrne, who wrote and illustrated this comic, introduced the world to the character of the Silver Banshee. And I won't go into the bio of the Silver Banshee here, but suffice to say, this was a character that could kill by the sound of her voice. A power that she used on Superman, and it hit Superman for six. In fact, his vital signs were gone after he sort of like succumbed to the power of the Banshee, and sort of like just fell down, collapsed. Everyone thought that he was dead. In fact, there was a state funeral for Superman in this comic book, where all the members of the Daily Bugle and the public, and a full armed parade was out in full force to sort of commemorate the life of this great hero Superman. Because people genuinely thought he was dead. He was in this really intense death-like coma, much like in Superman 75, and he was just regenerating. He was self-healing, but people thought that he was a goner. And of course, Action Comics 595 has not, to the best of my knowledge, gone down in the annals of comic book history as one of the all-time greatest Superman stories. It just hasn't. I mean, it's a good story. It is a good story, but it's a one issue, one off tale, introducing the Silver Banshee. Whereas with Superman 75, there was this whole massive marketing thing. As I mentioned, marketing was very big for Superman 75. The issue ending in his death, but everything else that was building up to Superman 75, it was a huge exercise. And it just goes to show that all these events that take place, no matter how extreme they are, without marketing, they kind of get lost, sort of like, to time. With marketing, they sort of live on in the memories of people forever. I mean, even those people who aren't into comic books as much, or who are being introduced to comic books recently, most people will be aware of Superman 75. I think. I think. There may be a generation of pre-teens who are reading comic books now, maybe, who are not aware, perhaps Death in the Family, Batman, Death in the Family, or Death of Superman, or even Nightfall, where Bane breaks Batman's back. A lot of people, younger people, might not be aware, but back in the day, I mean, these were huge, huge things. But Action Comics 595, who really knows about Action Comics 595? And this is where marketing is so, so important. It's integral. I mean, marketing is pretty much integral to, I think, any aspect of life, really. Look, you go for a job, whatever the job might be, you go for an interview, you're pretty much marketing your skills, you're selling yourself. That's the hard, cold truth. I mean, regardless of how skilled you are in a particular job, if your marketing is good, chances are you'll get it. But no matter how good you are at a particular job or how good a comic issue is, if the marketing is poor, if you're unable to sell yourself, you're going to get left on the shelf, and that's true. It makes you wonder, actually, how many pieces of banal, almost sort of inconsequential storytelling, sort of tales of various escapades have come out with great marketing, but haven't actually been that good. I mean, what can I think of? What can I think of? Let me see. I mean, if you take Spider-Man's Clone Wars, right, where Ben Riley and Peter Parker and the mix-up and the mash-up and who's who came out, I was never a huge fan. I mean, I don't even know how popular that story was, but I think it sold in pretty good numbers, because the marketing was there. Then you take something like, I suppose, DC's The War of the Gods, where basically the Olympian and the Norse and all these other various deities sort of like started having battles with sort of like Earth superheroes. It was it was marketed. I just don't think it was marketed very well. That hasn't been recognized as one of the greatest storyline sort of like series that came out by DC. I suppose something that's more well recognized by DC, which is still a little sort of lost in the haze of time, would be Legends, which came out I think in '86 or '87, if I'm correct. That's where Darkseid rather, decides to sort of pit the population of the Earth against its own heroes by using his minion Desad, and it's good work. It's good work, but yeah, marketing really does make a difference. And again, like I say, the Peter Parker whole clone war thing was not something that I don't think many people enjoyed that, to be honest with you. I don't think it's got very good reviews. But the marketing was there. I think it sold pretty well. And this is why marketing is so important. It's a shame, though, that marketing perhaps sometimes isn't correctly employed for the right sort of right things or the right books. A lot of things do get lost and sort of never see the light of day ever again. They become cult classics, I suppose. I mean, I suppose The War of the Gods, is it a cult classic? I don't know. I don't know. Um, Crisis Millennium from DC, where the Manhunters came about trying to infiltrate sort of Earth superhero society. That was a pretty big thing, but again, I think that's also been lost to time. What great big DC event, like DC crossover events, have really, really been super, super impressive or super, super well known? Actually, I can't think of anything recently. No, no. I mean, the New 52 was a complete disaster as far as I'm aware. That was like a reboot. That didn't go very far. Um, I think Marvel's done a better job overall in terms of marketing. You had Siege. I wasn't a huge fan of Siege, but that was pretty big. Annihilation was pretty big. Of course, back in the '90s, you had the Infinity War, which was huge. Infinity War was a very big thing. Then you had the Infinity Gauntlet. Then yeah, I think overall Marvel is probably better at marketing in relation to big, massive crossover events, whereas with DC, for some strange reason, seem to be better at sort of like individual titles, sort of big bang things going on. Batman's Death in the Family, um, Nightfall, um, Death of Superman. Yes, there are crossovers, but they are pretty much centered around that one central character. So yeah, marketing. I think with Marvel, it's more of a group event. With DC, it seems to be more with individual characters. But anyhow, marketing integral. to the success of comic book sales, and also to the success of public perception. And it can also make a fool of you, but you're still satisfied at the end of it. For example, Superman 75. Look, guys, he didn't really die. That's just the harsh reality. He didn't. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come back. That would have been a supernatural thing. And of course, Superman is rooted very deeply in science. And with Batman's back being broken, that would usually put everyone else out of commission. But Batman came back. He did come back. He did come back. He survived. He survived, and then he beat Bane also. So there you go. Is he human? Is he more than human? God knows. I mean, the marketing would confuse the hell out of most people in relation to Batman. I think people are still confused as to exactly just, does he have any sort of supernatural powers? One day we'll find out. Anyhow, guys, that's my ramble on marketing and the death of Superman. Thank you for joining. Hope to see you guys soon. All right, bye.